Hello, I'm Catherine Sines, the president of the Rotary Club of Hudson. Rotary is a professional organization of a group of men and women who support Rotary International. We also join together by a common interest of service to our Hudson community, and we have a sincere desire to give back. We meet weekly on Wednesdays at Laurel Lake Retirement Community, 200 Laurel Lake Drive, in their dining room. We meet from 7:30 to 8:30 and would like to invite you to join us. For more information about Rotary, go to www.rotaryhudson.org. Enjoy the following excerpts from one of our recent meetings and consider joining us on Wednesday morning.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests.
Good morning, Ron.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Jim Young.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning to you.
Let me bow our heads. May all assembled here today enjoy the many offerings of Rotary. May we abide by the rules that we have established, those of trust, fellowship, and ethics, and may we place service above self in our daily endeavors. May we always test ourselves in our efforts to be sure that we are the truth, good for all concerned, and a benefit to all. And this week, let us keep our songmeister Dick in our thoughts and prayers. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Jim. And to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test, Donna Kastner.
Good morning.
Good morning, Donna.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test. First.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth.
Will be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Donna. And to lead us in song, Chris Barker. Oh, she's coming. And we're going to sing It's a Grand Old Flag.
Thank you.
Oh, she did like it.
All right, everyone, let's sing nice and loud today. 1, 2, 3. You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true beneath the red, white, and blue, where there's never a boast or brag. Should old acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the grand old flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And now our president, Catherine Sines.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning, Catherine.
First, we have Chris Barker back again to introduce us to all our guests. You're welcome.
Good morning again. If you would all please join me in giving a nice warm Rotary welcome to our guests, and if they could please stand when I introduce them. I'll hold off on introducing the guest since he'll be speaking later, but joining us today, once again, we have Alyssa Hitchcock helping us on AV. She's from the Hudson Student Service Learning class. Thank you. And then we have Andy Shunk. He's a Hudson Hub editor. And we have Fred Carter. He's an account exec for the Hudson Hub. Hi, Fred. And we have joining us again, Bill Benoit. Hopefully he'll soon be a new member. So thank you.
I hope everybody's excited today to meet our speaker, and Jay Yard will introduce him. Thanks, Jay. Oh, wait a minute. I messed up. Not yet. I'm sorry, I messed up. Not yet. Sorry, Fine Master. You can find me for that. Not yet. We have Fine Master. Yes. You can find me for it. Joe Bozo, he's a Fine Master today. I got all excited for you to speak. I'm sorry.
Now I forgot everything I was going to say. Somebody want to be a collector of funds on this side over here? Yeah, don't everybody volunteer at once. Mimi, I got you? All right, Mimi over here. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say that it's been a long week for me. I mean, it really has been. A dear friend and a member of my parish passed away, and so there was a big funeral and a lot of that sort of stuff. So we're probably not as involved in this Fine Master event as perhaps normally. I thought maybe we'd tell some stories and discover a little bit about each other and be fined along the way for those sorts of things. But I wanted to start today talking about marriage. How many of you here are married? How many people married? Oh, I'm married. How many people here are single? People are single. Okay, a few. All right. Longest marriage. Who here has been married more than 50 years? Oh, wow. Wow. Who more than 55 years? Who more than 60 years? Oh, my word. Well, congratulations. Well done. To the same person. Yeah, okay.
It's too much trouble to train a new one.
Okay. Wow, congratulations, Mimi. Well done. Okay, pay $1 for being married so long. That's a long time to be married. As an Anglican, you know, we're kind of caught in the middle. We're sort of both Catholic and Reformed, and we're allowed to get married. And so I am, and been married 28 years. I think that's right. And we have an anniversary coming up in April. But, you know, like everybody else, I sort of have the same things. My wife, you know, I don't know, husbands, do wives ever sort of, I don't want to say nag, but yeah?
We call that remind.
Remind. There, I like that, remind. Yeah, the other day, so we're getting out of the car, and there's this couple down across the street, and she says to me, look at him. He holds her hand, opens the car door, kisses her. Why can't you do that? I said, I hardly know her. What am I saying? What's her husband going to think? Yeah, all right. So if you're single, you should also pay $1. If you're married, pay $2. All right? And being a priest. It's difficult to be a priest because you have all these sort of expectations. The other day I was anybody ever here take the city bus? You should take public transportation. It's good for you, all right? It's good for the community. So I was taking the city bus, and I was going down to Akron. There was a diocesan meeting of priests, and we all had to go down, and we pull up and we stop, and right in front of this bar, this guy comes in, he gets on the bus, and he sits down right next to me, and he smells, you know, seriously of alcohol. And I look over, and he's got like the brightest shade of red lipstick on his collar. Yeah, and a bottle of liquor of some sort sticking out of his pocket. And I was looking at him, and I was just kind of disgusted. It was the middle of the afternoon, and he's reading a paper, and he stops, and all of a sudden just looks at me and says, Father. I said, yeah? He says, how do you get arthritis? What causes arthritis? And I thought I'd get him, you know. I said, well, for one thing, drinking in the middle of the day, hanging out with loose women, and having total disregard for your fellow man. That's what does it. He said, oh. Goes back to reading. We're going on a little bit, and I began to feel guilty. I don't know, maybe you feel guilty about this. And so I said to the fellow, I said, I'm sorry. You know, I should have said that. That was not very nice. I said, how long have you had arthritis? And he said, well, I don't. I was just reading here that the Pope does, though, so I don't know what that was about. Yeah. You never know when you're going to caught. How many of you went to church or synagogue this week? Holy shnikes, the rest of you pay $1, all right? Oh, wow. Anybody here ever live in another state? You've lived in another state. Evan, where have you lived? Illinois. You've lived in the great state of Illinois. And now, they get credit for Lincoln, but he's really from Kentucky. You know that, right? Yeah, so he's really a Kentuckian, but Illinois, was it a great place to live? Perfect. Perfect. Chicago or down... Chicago, Illinois. All right. Anybody else over here? Jay, where have you lived?
Pittsburgh.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Liz, where have you lived?
Maryland.
Maryland. All right. Ron?
I think it's about 9 or 10 states.
9 or 10 states?
Yeah.
Best state other than Ohio, which is the greatest state?
Well, let's see, the best state, Minnesota.
Other than Ohio?
Well, we loved Kentucky, we loved Indiana, but the best state that I worked in and the people were great was North Dakota.
North Dakota. You had me at Kentucky. I lived in Kentucky. Where? Oh, I thought you were holding a hand up there.
Well, you were still collecting.
Okay. I was segueing. Yeah, that was my smooth transition. You had me at Kentucky. That's where I was going right there. All right. I used to live in Kentucky, and it was there being a clergyman was kind of interesting as well. I had a rural parish. I went to seminary there. I wasn't a Methodist, but I went to a Methodist seminary, and they gave young clergymen, seminarians, student pastorates. Okay. Basically, it was a small parish in the middle of nowhere. And there'd be a few people there, and the Methodists are beautiful people. They're like Anglicans, only they're well behaved. So they're sort of the same thing. And anyway, so I had this rural parish and was there, and I used to walk up these country roads and go see my parishioners. And one day I was walking down the road, and this truck pulled up, white pickup truck, and the fellow leans over and he says, "Hey, preacher, come on, get in. I'll give you a ride." Give me a chance to, engage this guy. And so I get in, and he's got a big wad of tobacco in his cheek, and he's driving down the road, and he says, some nice small talk to me, and he reaches underneath the seat, and he pulls out a mason jar filled with a clear liquid. Yeah. Shakes it up, reaches over to me and hands it and says, "Here, take a drink." So, I would, but it's early, it's way too early for me, and so thanks anyway. He's like, "No, go ahead. Hey, have you a little bit." No, I appreciate it, but it is still kind of early. He hands me the guard. Reaches back underneath, pulls out a .45 Magnum revolver. Yeah, cocks the handle back and says, "I said take a drink." Well, what do you do, right? So I open it up, take a drink. It goes through my body like antifreeze or whatever and curls my toes, steam comes out my ears. I looked at him and I said, "That is the worst whiskey I have ever tasted in my life." He said, "I know. Now you hold the gun on me and I'll take a drink." If you've lived in another state, pay $1. All right. How many of you have never lived in another state? You've only lived in the great state of Ohio. You've only ever been a Buckeye. Yeah, you. 3? Any more? 4?
No.
Oh, not you. Back there, Ron. You all also pay $1. You should be moving on and getting a little bit of adventure elsewhere. One other little story from Kentucky. True story. You don't believe me, do you? It is a true story, I'm telling you. Okay, there was this boy that was born in Kentucky with just a head. Yeah. No body, no torso, nothing, and it was a typical life, it was. And on his 21st birthday, his father took him to the local tavern to have a shot of bourbon whiskey. In Kentucky, they only have a few industries. They have racehorsing and tobacco, and whiskey, and they're all habit forming so that people have a job well into the future. And so anyway, the dad took this boy to the tavern and, put him up on a bar stool and poured him a shot of bourbon whiskey, and the boy took this first sip, just reached over there with his lips and took a sip, and immediately his torso shot out of his head. That was crazy, right? And so he tried it again. Boom, arms popped out. One more time, 2 legs came out. Immediately, he jumped off the stool, ran through the bar, out into the street, and got hit by an 18-wheeler. And the bartender said he should have stopped while he was ahead. If you laughed at that, pay $1, because that's a terrible story. Terrible. Yes, it was. Yes. But you're going to be telling it at lunch today, so yeah, don't worry about it. Anybody here ever played the lottery? Got lottery players? Tell the truth. Even the Baptists over here has raised their hand, okay? Anybody ever won any money at the lottery? Anything ever? Man, I won $72 playing Keno one time. That was a pretty good. Don't tell my church. Okay, who said yes? I won a little bit. Yeah?
Just scratch off.
How much did you win on scratch off? $50. All right. Did you tithe on that? Give something $5 at church? Did you? Okay. Okay. So, Catherine didn't tell you that she also won another lottery. The West Virginia. Tell them about the West Virginia State Lottery that you won. She won $3 million. She gets $3 a year for 1,000,000 years. That's right. Everybody pay $1. If you've ever played the lottery, if you've never played the lottery, pay $1. All right. People in the news. Oh my, yeah, I have some news issues here. Oh yeah. First of all, and this is a true, this one it really is a true story. I was reading the other day, I'll stay back over here. I was reading the other day that in Rotary sort of lore, the sergeant at arms is viewed as the Rotary bully. Have you ever heard this? Have you heard this, Ron? No. Yeah, the Rotary bully, the sergeant of arms. Who likes that? In a similar story, Hudson Hub, January 14, Hudson Board denies bullying allegations. Turns out Ron Strobel was also an 8th grader here in town. So, Ron, you have to pay $1. Let's see, somebody on page 6. Who's on page 6? Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is Dan. Dan, I can't believe that you made it in the paper. Let's see if I can read this. This is under the Hudson Police Reports. Man gets a ride home after having too much to drink. A Roslyn Avenue resident called police on January 6th, shortly after 3 a.m. to report a man pounding on the resident's front door. Police arrived and talked to the man. He was cited for disorderly conduct. Officers then took him home and released him into the custody of his wife. Next time, take an Uber, all right? There you go, pay $1. Not really, Dan. All right, so not really, Dan.
When I heard 3 a.m.
3 a.m., right. Oh, let's see, we have another one here. Oh, yes. Rich Warfield, where's Rich? Oh my word. 3 pictures on the same page. 2 are directly next to each other. You don't feel like that's a little gratuitous? It shows up a week later on this in another Sunday paper. 3 pictures, same page. $6. Pay up front, all right? Oh. Phil Herman, did you think you were getting out of this? Snow days, really? What's the date today? 25th? How many snow days have we had, Mr. Herman? 4 snow days this month. Do you know where those kids go when they don't go to school? Church, right? No, they stay home. That's even worse. Yes. Everybody, who here has children in school? You have children in a high school. Okay, if you don't have children in a high school, pay $1. All right. All right, we're gonna do a little game called Limericks, okay? And I should have said that we're raising money today for we're raising money today for the Haven of Rest homeless shelter in Akron. If you are homeless right now, it's very uncomfortable outside, and in all seriousness, they need people to support them, especially during these cold winter months. So. Limericks, get ready to pay up. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have 2 teams, my right, my left. Team on the left, pick somebody to be your representative for this first limerick. Pick somebody.
Left's over there.
No, my left. Pay $1 because you don't know your left from right. All right, somebody here. Evan, thank you for volunteering. All right, so we have Evan McCauley. Stand up, please. I'm going to read a limerick. He gets 1 shot at the answer. And I'm going to leave the last word blank, okay? If he can finish the limerick, you pay $1. If he cannot finish the limerick, everybody over here pays $1. All right, you ready? Are you worried? Yeah, okay. There was an odd fellow named Gus. When traveling, he made such a fuss. He was banned from the train, not allowed on a plane, and now he travels only by bus. Oh, everybody over here pay $1. Well done. Well done. All right.
This is like the Trump cognitive test.
All right, who's over here? Chris, thank you for volunteering. Stand up. All right. He might have another opportunity. Everybody get your dollars ready. All right. Chris, you got to put your science cap on for this one, okay? There was a young woman named Bright whose speed was much faster than light. She set out one day in a relative way and returned on the previous night. Oh, well done. Everybody over here pay $1. Night.
Way to go.
Well done. You guys are impressive. Yes. Volunteer over here. Who's ready to go? Well, when you've seen how it go, you've seen how we play. It's really pretty quite easy. Come on, Mimi. Mimi, is it you? It is you.
Mimi's too smart.
You are a bit too clever for this. If you get this one, they pay $2. All right, ready? There once was a child in Spain who loved to play in the rain. One day he tripped and broke his hip. Now he's in serious. Oh, well done. Pay up over here. Serious pain. All right, last chance here. Jay, I think it is you. All right, here we go. My neighbor came over to say, this is a very Hudson limerick, by the way. My neighbor came over to say, although not in a neighborly way, that he'd knock me around if I didn't stop the sound of the punk rock music I love to play. Hey, well done. Pay up over here. Pittsburgh. All right, birthdays. Anybody have a birthday this month? Yes? Rich? Golly, how much money you're going to pay today?
I got to win Rotoboxes to break even.
Okay. What was birthday? What date?
Sunday.
Sunday the 20th?
28.
28. Oh, it's coming up still, yeah. Okay, and are we allowed to ask how old?
No.
Okay. 92. All right, somebody else have a birthday? Yes, Chris? Date?
January 1st.
Wouldn't even think. January 1st, you're a New Year baby. Well, happy birthday and Happy New Year and all that good stuff. I also had a birthday, number 48, on the 17th of this month. So I left my wallet at home, pay $1 for me. Okay. Anniversaries. Any anniversaries this month? No, not a single anniversary this month? Nobody gets married in January? Really? All right. Good enough. Badges. Who here has a badge on? Raise your hand if you're a member of the Rotary and you have your badge on. Raise your hand if you're a member of the Rotary and you do not have your badge on. Oh, pay $1. All right. Pay $1. If you are a member of Rotary and you do not have a pin in your on your shirt, collar, or lapel, raise a hand. Oh yeah, pay $1, pay $1. All right, pay $1 over here. Last but not least, happy news. Any happy news? Anybody happy at all? Bill, give us.
It's not happy news.
Okay.
You know, we have this rule in the Catholic Church that a priest in the Anglican Church can become a priest in the Catholic Church and bring your wife with you.
That's right.
I checked with the Vatican. They want your wife, but they don't want you.
I like it. You've had that in your pocket for a while, haven't you, Bill? Yeah.
I also have.
Pay $1.
I have an observation.
Okay.
So when you were asking earlier when if you've been married for 50 years
Right.
or 55 years,
Right.
Joe Zapatowski didn't raise his hand, but when you asked 60 years, he did.
Joe, pay $1. All right. Other happy news. Once, going twice. All right. Hopefully, we raise some money for some people who need a shelter in the time of really cold. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
You had to smile at least once or twice during that. Great job. And now, Jay, would you like to introduce our speaker?
He left.
Good morning, Rotarians. It's tough being second up at the comedy club. We have a very hot topic today, the public media. A quote from a Wall Street Journal article this past weekend stated that advertising madmen bristle at the digital revolution, but clients are pressuring firms to embrace technological change. That includes publishers. Our speaker, Mike Shearer, general manager and editor of Gatehouse Media's Kent market, knows that challenge and is dealing with it. The Hudson Hub Times, who we all believe is an excellent publication serving us and our community, is undergoing significant transformation under his guidance. Witness the Hub #1 rated digital agency and the completely redesigned website. But first, let me point out that Mike's been a longtime Rotarian in Newark, Ohio, and now in Kent, where he resides with his wife Greta and his 2 sons. And one of his sons is at Ohio University, where Mike graduated in journalism. Mike was named to his current position in April of 2017 to lead overall operations of the Kent site, including the Record Courier, 2 websites, and 7 weekly community publications. And that's not all. He also serves as regional editor for 7 other Gatehouse markets, setting the direction for the news efforts. Mike, from 2009 to 2016, served as executive editor of the Media Network of Central Ohio, a group of 10 daily Gannett Company media sites. He also served as the top editor of The Advocate in Newark. Recognized for his outstanding editorial writing by Ohio APME, and you might explain what that is, and by Gannett Publishing, I give you Mike Shearer.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hope you're all doing well today. You know, I was reminded watching the fines there that the real reason we publish newspapers is to give Rotary Sergeant-at-Arms an opportunity to find people. So, I mean, that's the whole reason we exist, really, is just to give you guys fodder. That was always a fun part of my club in Newark, was to watch the fines, and of course, whenever there was a typo in the paper, I tend to get fined for that too. So, but anyway, all right, we'll get started here. So APME is the Ohio Associated Press Managing Editors Group. It's just a group that coordinates an awards thing every year, basically. But so anyway, I'm thrilled to be here this morning and talk about what's changing in our business. You know, I tend to get a lot of questions about, oh my gosh, when I introduce people, you're in newspapers, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, that must be terrible. Well, yes, it's challenging, but it's not terrible by any means. So I'll talk about that a little bit today, and go through what we're going to cover here. If I get this to work right. All right. Go ahead and go to the next one if you can. Not. Well, anyway, I have my notes here. Hopefully we get caught up here, but we're going to cover a few things today. First, are newspapers in trouble? How are reader habits changing? What does this mean for advertisers, and what does it mean for the Hub Times? And I always tend to attract a fair number of questions, so I'll try to leave as much time as I can for questions as we can. But not going forward. All right, so for starters here, obviously, what's happening in the world is pretty amazing. If you think about it, the first iPhone was introduced in 2007. So less than 10 years ago, we did not have that device available, or just a little over 10 years ago, we did not have that device available to any of us for any purpose at all, whether it be to get an Uber, to find the news, whatever the case may be. So about 4 in 10 Americans are getting their news online. It's about 57% on TV, about 40% online. Radio's down to 25%, and print newspapers are down to 20%, which is obviously a concern, and why I get that question. Actually, I think I skipped a slide here.
Well, we wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. No, you wouldn't. Well, okay, so my first slide is our newspaper's in trouble. And it works a lot better when the image comes on the screen, but the image is a Kodak roll of film. And my answer is not as much trouble as Kodak. We still have a very viable business where thousands of papers are delivered every day to homes. You think about what Kodak went through. One day, suddenly people had digital cameras in a very quick time frame. And the world's changing so fast that even the digital cameras you have been totally taken over by your cell phone now, right? Yes, we still own digital cameras. A lot of us love to take pictures of those. But a lot of people, a cell phone is more than enough to be your camera. So the good news is that newspapers are, while we're challenged, we're not that bad off. But the world is changing very rapidly. 4 in 10 Americans, as I said, get their news online. The use of mobile devices has soared tremendously. There's about 75% of people are on mobile devices all the time now. We have seen our traffic grow from being 100% on desktop computers online to last year we had more than 50% of our traffic. There we go. Go ahead and go a few more there. There's your Kodak roll film. There's the showing that TV is stronger than online, radio than newspapers. But down below there, it's really interesting if you look at it. TV is most popular with older folks. Online is most popular with younger, no big surprise there. Radio is kind of a mixed bag. And newspapers are obviously more popular with the older crowd again. Which is the challenge that we face, is how do you serve all those audiences with news and information. Go ahead. There's the mobile chart on the left showing the growth. 85% of people get news on a mobile device at least once in a while. 85%. It's an amazing stat. But like I said, about half our traffic in 2017 was on mobile devices at our sites. And then social media is the other huge driver that really is reshaping how the world works. And it's not just about the election in 2016 and all that. It's shaping how everything that we do and what we go about our strategies. We have a very concerted strategy about social media every day, about what gets posted, what doesn't get posted. And there's a lot of changes in that sphere too. Facebook to kind of counteract some of the challenges they faced through the whole election cycle has just decided they're going to start downplaying news sources in their algorithms again, and because they want Facebook to be more about where you see your friends and family's friends pictures and so on. So that's another challenge for us going forward. Is it's going to probably hurt how we get stories out to people, because Facebook is the #1 driver of our traffic, pure and simple. Go ahead. So this goes beyond newspapers. So, I mean, I mentioned Kodak a minute ago, but think about all the businesses that are out there. We bought our house last year. That was, there's a lot of online parts to that, not just looking at print newspapers for ads. If you look at all the things that go on in your life and what you do online, it has completely changed the whole process for every company, not just newspapers. So we're trying to really work to explain that to our advertisers and our readers and our customers about how you can't, if you're doing things the same way you did them 5 or 10 years ago, you're really missing an opportunity. And that's the great thing about what our company offers. And go ahead and go to the next one. Our company, Gatehouse Media, purchased the Dix Communications last February 1st, just about a year ago right now. And that was what led me to come here and join in April. But the company is much more than just a newspaper. We offer digital services that are far more extensive than what were available here previously from the Dix Communications. And by the way, the Dix did a fabulous job of running this company. They made a lot of great decisions and did a lot of great things for the communities that they served. And we're trying to continue that tradition while blending in the modern and new things that we have to do to be successful, given all the challenges in the marketplaces. So Gatehouse offers us a full range of products that we simply didn't have before. If you want to go ahead, please. And I won't go through all these, but there's a zillion different little things we can do from, and I'll get into this a bit more, but These are all the different digital opportunities that we have for people. The main one is Thrive Hive, which is a digital marketing company that I'll get into here in a bit. Go ahead. In Ohio, this is our footprint in Ohio. Gatehouse also owns the Columbus Dispatch, which gives us a tremendous opportunity for sharing of content like Ohio State Buckeyes. They have 6 people covering the Ohio State House. It's the largest team of folks covering the Ohio State House. And although it doesn't necessarily trickle down to the Hudson Hub Times very often, there are stories where it certainly could. And we have full resources with them, especially for online, to share those stories. But our footprint here, the Kent market, includes the weeklies. Hudson is our only twice weekly. But we have 6 others that are in the market there: Aurora, Twinsburg, Stowe, Nordonia Hills area, Cuyahoga Falls, and Talmadge, and of course the Hudson Hub. And then we have 7 other dailies besides the Dispatch here in Ohio, a couple over in Pennsylvania that aren't really part of our group, just to show where we are. And then there's other weeklies throughout our markets down in Worcester and Cambridge area and so on. So that's the company here in Ohio. Go ahead. So I'll spend the rest of my time talking about what we're trying to do both on the news and the sales side. And news is my background more and my passion for what we do, but quite simply here we had to change to get caught up with the times. There was a lot, our websites weren't very strong. The approach to news was a little not as focused on breaking news and things that need to happen immediately to create a strong digital presence. So what we've done here is we launched a brand new website back in August called mytownneo.com, which is simply a compilation of our 7 weeklies content on the one website. And the reasons for that are many, but primarily it was that we can serve people far more efficiently and cleanly that way than maintaining 7 separate websites with 7 homepages and all the things that go with that. HudsonHubTimes.com still redirects right into a page on that website that's all about Hudson. It has all the news stories, all the sports stories, and all the obituaries for the Hudson community. It has all the same content you had had before. But My Town NEO gives us a tremendous opportunity to reflect this area. There are people who work here in Hudson who live in Stowe or vice versa. It's a very transient area in terms of daily activity, people going back and forth. And when there's a crash on Route 8, for example, and we want to post as breaking news, I can now post it once to all the sites and alert you all through our various means instead of posting it 7 times. It's a simple example of that. There are also, what we've realized, there are stories that transcend our communities. There are, for example, I don't know how much a big deal this is in Hudson, but last week, Cuyahoga Falls announced that they were going to redo Howell Avenue down there and close it for 2 years and only have traffic going one way for 2 years with all those stores down there. That story across our markets generated 16,000 page views, which I believe is a record for the new site, in 1 week, which is pretty amazing that had that much reader interest across our markets. And it transcends even in the Kent. We ran that story in the daily paper in Kent on Sunday too, because it goes across all lines. So we are trying to be very responsive to that. We also launched a new Record Courier website, which looks just like My Town NEO. And all these sites are responsive to mobile, which that means is that if you're looking, whatever device you're on, it automatically adapts it to show it to you in the best format for your device. So as I mentioned, half our traffic comes from mobile. And that number is growing, obviously. We're also trying to employ a digital-first approach, meaning that when news happens and we don't control the timing on it, we publish it as soon as we possibly can. If there's an event today or the school district issues a press release on something important, we try to publish that as quickly as we can to get that news out there to our readers, because digital is where people are flocking to. Now, there are some things that, if our editor Andy Shunk here, if he does a piece, a feature piece for the Sunday front page of the Pub Times, that may be held online, not to appear until the same day, or maybe even on Monday sometimes. We try to spread that content out over the 7 days of the week. And then social media is a huge part of our focus. We pay very close attention to what the analytics of Facebook and other social media platforms tell us. We know instantly which stories are being read and which ones are not. We know which types of posts on Facebook attract the biggest audience there is. Because in the end, our job as journalists, although we have a duty to inform the public about what's going on, and there are very traditional roles that we take very seriously and still are committed to, the bottom line is if we're not producing content that people want to read, we're not going to be successful. If everyone thinks everything's boring and not worth reading their time, we're not going to be successful. So if you go ahead, please. Next slide. That's why, one of my philosophies is quite simply that content is king. Without content, we are really nothing. And you think about any business that you're out there. If you're a restaurant, if you serve bad food and have bad service, people aren't going to come back. It's pretty simple, right? We're just like any other business in that sense. So our reporting focus has tried to be updated and changed this year, in the past year. We're trying to write for readers, make sure that we keep in mind what you want to see and what you care about, and we use the analytics once again to help shape that. For example, Howe Avenue, 16,000 page views got my attention, and on Monday's news meeting, I was like, guys, find out more about this. What do the neighbors say? Where's the detour going to go? There's a lot of questions about that story that we can continue to explore. The good news, by the way, is it doesn't start till 2020, so there's plenty of time to plan your detours if you go down that way ever. But what is the impact of the news? And a good example of that, and Bill from UH here, last year when they announced they're going to build a standalone ER in Kent, and we were doing a story about it, the simple question was, well, what does that mean? What does a standalone ER mean when you're building one in Kent? And the answer was, two impacts, easy ones were, they're going to get you to a doctor faster than going somewhere else, and two, depending on where you live, of course, and where you're at, and two, it gets that ambulance back in service faster. Just pure fact. If they don't have to drive to Ravenna or over to Stowe or wherever else they might have gone in the past, it gets certain people back in action quicker. So we try to write the stories focused on that, the impact and why it matters to you, more than just telling you, hey, they're building a new emergency room, or whatever the case may be. So, why do people care is an important part of what we do, and we pay real close attention to analytics once again. We've changed our beats considerably. In the past, there was a reporter for Hudson and the editor, and I should introduce, Andy got introduced earlier, but Andy Shunk is our editor for Hudson. If you ever have anything you need from him, just let him know. And we also have Cindy Smith here, one of our sales reps here too, and you met Fred earlier too. So, but the beats are different. We have a business reporter now that covers the Summit County area. So he writes Hudson stories, he writes Talmadge stories, and so on. We have an education reporter for all the markets. We have a features reporter for all the markets, breaking news reporters, and so on. And the goal of that was that there are a lot of stories that cross these markets. We still need to write the very individual Hudson stories, and we always will. But there are other things that we can do that share across the boundaries. Features on restaurants, features on, there's a story that's running this week about how did the economy fare in this region last year, because it's obviously all interrelated. It's not just a Hudson economy or a Talmadge economy, they're all interrelated. So we have a story running on that this weekend. So we're trying to do that. We're also trying to make full use of the Gatehouse resources. Not all of those are going to appear in the Hub Times. Obviously, we're not going to put Ohio State football stories in the Hub Times, but they are on My Town EO because there's plenty of space there. We can put as many stories online as we want to. So content is king, and we're still working on a few things. So with the print editions, we've been focused on the daily there mostly. We're unveiling some changes there this weekend. And we'll be moving into the print products soon, but I don't anticipate anything serious changes with those. Go ahead. Our three guiding principles are pretty simple. We want to inform you, we want to entertain you, and yes, we are an entertainment venue in terms of a feature, something that, there's, in the daily there's comics, things like that. But our goal is to make sure we're entertaining, informing, and try to make life a bit easier. So, for example, if there's a road closed, we try to get that posted right away so you can be aware of it, hopefully avoid that problem. I remember a few months ago I was in Columbus and I was getting ready to head downtown from the north side, and one of the TV stations put a push alert on my phone saying, avoid I-71, it's a mess, basically. Great, I went down to 315 and went downtown instead. It saved me time. We're trying to build that kind of culture into what we do to help you out. If there's going to be a parade downtown on Saturday morning, we're going to put up a post on Saturday morning. Reminder, Hudson Parade is this morning. You might want to avoid the area unless you want to be in the parade or see the parade. Things like that. So we're just trying to be really smart about how we hopefully help people out and are viewed as a resource for people. So that's the news side of things. Go ahead. So on sales, with the world changing so quickly, we are a business and we have to be successful. And in Hudson, in the weeklies, we rely almost completely on advertising revenue to fund the staff, the production costs, the delivery costs, and everything that we do. And that model works pretty well. It's challenged, but it works pretty well. So the great new opportunity for us is on the digital sales side of what we're trying to do. And Fred specifically, that's the main part of what he does every day. And we're working to train our staff on how digital marketing works, how campaigns work, making sure that any money spent on the digital side is successful and not just wasted. We are selling Thrive Hive digital marketing packages, which is a whole laundry list of things I won't bore you with this morning, but it's everything from email marketing to search optimization, social media, and all types of opportunities are there. We also now have the ability to sell local ads on national websites, meaning that if your business wants to be advertised to people that are online in the Hudson community, we can do that. It wouldn't necessarily appear just on our site. It may also appear on a national site or a site you're more commonly aware of, but your ad can appear there too. Especially if there's some retargeting things we can do too. If people have searched for, financial planning or hotels or whatever the case may be in the past. One of our challenges is educating businesses about all these changes. I mean, there are a lot of people who are understandably confused about all this, how this all works. And so we're trying to work on helping educate the customers that we have and potential customers about how it all works. And there's some other things we're doing. We're changing our employment system this spring to ZipRecruiter. And we've also invested quite heavily in training of all of our staff, but we've invested heavily in new advertising leadership. There's a new sales VP who just joined us here in the Kent market a few weeks ago. And he's actually living up in Hudson right now in a temporary place until he finds a permanent one. So he's here and helping guide all these efforts going forward. So go ahead. So Thrive Hive, I mentioned a little bit already, but it involves highly targeted digital ads, various lead generation strategies. We can build websites for people. We can optimize websites. And really, it's all about when people search for things, making sure your business is seen. And that's a big part of what we do there, too. So, go ahead. The challenges we face. No, we're not Kodak, as I mentioned earlier, but we are. There are definitely challenges on the horizon for newspapers. There have been for quite some time, and they will continue to be as the population changes and as readership habits change. So the free weekly model, as I mentioned, really requires ad support, which we have in this community. It's outstanding, and we really appreciate that. But I think we obviously return a product back to the community that they appreciate and that works and is effective in reaching your advertisers. One of the challenges we face is that there are a lot of folks out there who think we're not a business, that we're just a nonprofit that exists to put out a paper every week, or twice a week here, and that's simply not the case. So we are a business, we do require support, but that has not been an issue in Hudson as it has been in other places. The other challenge, and this doesn't quite filter down to maybe local news quite as much, but I will tell you the current political environment is the worst I've seen in terms of trying to be an editor. We pride ourselves on being independent, not trying to take sides. And the venom that I see every day in my email and the Record Courier runs a sound off line people can call in. It is really, really nasty what we're seeing these days. And what the worst part about that is, if you think about it, we all fall on the political spectrum somewhere. You may be liberal, you may be conservative, you may be somewhere in between. But if you're on one side or the other in a very staunch way, basically everyone is liberal to you beyond or conservative to you, going whichever way you're going. If you're a very conservative person and you look at the newspaper, you may think of us as liberal because we are down the middle, even though we do our best to be independent and share both sides. So it's a very challenging place to be right now. The complaints I get about opinion pages and things like that are at a record level. I had someone call me the other day and tell me that George Will, who's a column we run in the Daily sometimes, is not a conservative. And he's pretty well regarded as a conservative by a lot of folks, obviously. So it's a very challenging environment that threatens our, people just stop reading us because they don't see us as an independent source in this current environment. So that's a challenge. And then serving readers of all ages. There are things that we have to do on the print side that may take something away from some folks that allow us to go do something else on the digital side to reach a different audience. So serving all these different audiences at the same time is a very challenging proposition for us. But go ahead. But here's, what's important to me is what is our role in the community? What is our function? And these are kind of my key points here. We'll support what's best for the community. We can only be as successful as the communities we serve are successful. If the communities we serve have challenges, we're going to have challenges, obviously. Sometimes that means that we need to have a watchdog or investigative story. It may be one a year, maybe two a year, I don't know. But there are times when those stories are necessary to tell a story and help get past an issue. We also need to use our power of the media to support community events. There are a large number of events here in the Hudson community that we're involved in supporting through various ads and programs. We'll continue to do that. But in the end, we can only be successful as the communities are too. And it's our role to help that happen, whether that's being a cheerleader one day or writing a more difficult story the next. We'll keep that as fair and balanced as we possibly can. So that's my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions you have about the media or the Hub Times or whatever the case may be. Yes, sir.
When I look at the website for Hudson Hub Times, when I check the website for the Hudson Hub Times, how often is the news on that site updated? Is it a daily thing, or is it frequently during the day?
It should be close to daily. I don't think we're quite hitting that stride full yet. We're not. There are days we put up many things, and another day we may not put up anything over a weekend especially. But between news and sports, there's pretty fresh content there most days, yes.
Okay, thanks.
No? Yes.
How are you dealing with the challenges related to fake news on your social media issues? Because these days, most people have no idea how to assess whether something is valid and supported by data or some other truth, fact.
Well, the biggest challenge for us there is to make sure that we don't accidentally contribute to fake news by having a story that's wrong. That's what I see as the biggest issue there. I mean, we're a human endeavor and we make mistakes from time to time, but we need to make sure that our biggest facts are absolutely correct and that we don't make mistakes as any more than humanly possible. That is probably the biggest part. We play this local role. Then we also have to make sure that the wire editing that we do of wire stories and what we pick is balanced, that we look at what the stories that we're getting from AP and the other Washington Post and other sources that we have are as fair as possible. And that's a challenge too, but because we're not intimately involved in those stories, it's a little hard to digest exactly what's right and wrong. So
I haven't looked at your social media sites, so I don't know whether you cite sources.
Yes. All of our social media posts are tied back to articles on our website. They very rarely will you ever see us post without a link back to the content that gives you the full story. And there's a whole new team we have that basically takes all the copy that's coming in from our papers. They do a second editing on those from what the original editor's done. They then send those off to the website, and then they go back and do a social media post about that story. And it is completely tied to that. We don't do any posts that are not tied to an article.
I would just also add to that fake news on sort of a macro sense, a national sense. Look at your attribution for where something is coming from. Look at the source. If a news publication makes a mistake, are they amenable to a correction? Are they amenable to a follow-up story, one way or another, that helps even the road? Or most publications that are credible didn't just turn into fake news overnight. So that's important to remember.
The other thing is we avoid using anonymous sources wherever possible. We very rarely do. And to be honest, they usually involve news about Kent State athletics. This is the weird part about it. But even in the recent football coach search, there were stories out there that were completely fake. But we had to share them at least a little bit saying, this website's reporting that the new coach is going to be this guy. And that ended up being completely wrong. So it's a the whole sports world of the big college athlete, that's a whole other crazy area. But it's a very frustrating part of what we have to do sometimes. But yes. There was somebody over here, I believe, or yes? Over here. Jay. I'll go there next.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting, Mike. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I heard just yesterday the New York Times has record income. Is this true? And if so, how's that come by?
I do not know the answer to that question, but I can tell you that they've been very successful at marketing themselves as a digital national newspaper. And they've made a lot of great different marketing efforts to universities and other ones, other partnerships, you might say, with subscriptions. So I know they have a very steady, loyal following of people who pay them, anywhere from $5 to $10 a month or something like that to have online access. So I think that's what's driving that more than anybody else. But they're in a unique position to do that, obviously. So Washington Post is trying to do the same thing and being successful. There's also been a surge of support for newspapers that are reporting on the Trump administration. There's some folks that view that as a way to help the cause, you might say, for their cause, but yeah. So, yes.
Mike, how have all these changes affected your voluntary subscription drive? And why is it voluntary?
Well, that goes back to business decisions made long before I was here. But why is it it's voluntary? Because we believe the best method for delivering news and information to this community is the current model. If we went to a paid subscription model, we'd have far fewer papers going out, and it might be more difficult to sell advertising to. If we're printing 9,000 papers twice a week for Hudson. If we printed, let's say, 5,000 instead of 9,000, how would that impact our advertising? And there's also a lot of expense to collect the circulation payments, on a bill people. That's a whole other animal too that is not cheap. So, I mean, it's profitable, but it'd be difficult to set up and do for that many weeklies. So I think it's just a business model that's worked here. It doesn't work in every community. And across our Ohio properties, there are some weeklies that are paid, and there are a lot that are like what we do here. So, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank our greeters, Rich Nibiola. Close? Okay. Rich Warfield, audiovisual crew, Dan Rich, Tom Page, Tom Tobin, and Ron Barnhouse, and Alyssa Hitchcock. Thank you from Service Learning for helping us. Thanks a lot. You came through there for us this morning. And our Rotobuck drawing today is $13, and the jackpot's $137. If you would.
Say the last four.
Last four.
Okay, the last four has ever got 5190.
5190. Woohoo! Nope. Remember, you may not always see eye to eye, but try to see heart to heart. Thank you for being here today.